I had a aha moment, and it's funny. This is a turning point where when you get what you ask for when you put things out in the universe. So I had told my husband, I said, you know what? I'm going to retire from advertising. I want to be done trying to convince clients to do the right thing by the consumers, trying to get products in people's hands that they don't necessarily want. Welcome to Her Agency, the podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Rand. This is a space curated for Black women in advertising who are bold enough to pick up the pen, write the brief, take up space, and own their agency. Welcome to another episode of Her Agency, the podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Rand. And I just felt we're at a point where we're getting to know each other, and I really can't continue my efforts of exposing you to dynamic and amazing Black women in advertising without sharing my story. So let's get into it. I have been in advertising for 17 years, and I've seen a lot and done a lot. I've worked with amazing brands, including Uber, Samsung, AT&T, Toyota, and Bank of America, leading across various different verticals, starting off in social and digital media, then navigating to strategy, ultimately ending up as a vice president group account director for my final role. The journey's been amazing. There's been a lot of ups and downs. I've learned a lot, and what I've learned, I don't know that I would have made some of the moves that I made had I knew it at the beginning. So that's really what this safe space and this platform is for. And with all those amazing brands, I was able to really learn a lot. A lot of what I'm going to share with you today, what we've been sharing over the course of these episodes, things that I wish I knew then, what I know now. So I first got my start in social and digital being an entrepreneur, cutting my teeth, eating what I kill. Back home in Kansas City, Missouri, I was doing social media and digital marketing for a number of mom and pop shops, entrepreneurs, and real estate executives. I just had a knack for it. It was the hot thing at the time, and I learned how to help people tell their stories and sell products. I was actually doing lunch and learns for the community at Gates Restaurant, the best barbecue on the planet, right on 47th in the city. And through those lunch and learns and environments where I saw people have the light bulb moment come on about I really need to leverage this technology and this medium to sell products and drive foot traffic to my door, the momentum picked up, steam picked up. Ultimately, my then boyfriend, now husband, and I decided to move to Dallas, Texas. In moving to Dallas, Texas, I continued down the entrepreneurial journey, wanting to, needing to eat what I kill, go out, knock doors, and sell business. But it took about a month, and I started getting the same question over and over. That question was, yeah, this sounds good what you're doing, but what agency are you with? They thought maybe I was a business development, new business. No, I was just an entrepreneur doing social media on her own. What I learned about Dallas, though, is it was a budding opportunity for ad agencies to come about. And so everybody who was working in advertising and marketing was an agency. So I knew that if people were expecting me to be at an agency, let me put myself in position to do just that. So I found a social media agency called Splash over in Addison back in the day and learned a lot. As a 100% social media agency, I was managing 15, 20 accounts at a time. A lot of not so sexy small businesses, including a boiler company. I was acting as a white man in LinkedIn as a CMO, driving traffic to events where they could sell products. Very unsexy work, but very, very thorough work where I learned a lot about social media and digital marketing. Fast forward, got plucked out of there to a PR company again in Addison, did a little work there with Encore, the major energy provider in Dallas, Texas, and then made my way to the Richards Group. When I was at the Richards Group, I did a lot of baby and mom and kid products, managing the Chuck E. Cheese account, working with a brand called Boudreaux's Butt Paste, really getting in my mommy bag, talking to mommy bloggers, and moving the needle for people wanting to get products to moms. After that, this is where I led digital and social for AT&T. Now, if I reflect, this was by far my most exciting role. Sports, being at the intersection of sports and digital was my jam. I am a sports girly, now a sports mom, and activating with NCAA and college football and the NFL was amazing. Not to toot my own horn, but I did launch the first influencer campaign with partnership with AT&T and the Dallas Cowboys, where I bought 16 influencers from the Dallas area to Jerry's World to experience AT&T and push fiber as a network. We did a lot of amazing work, a lot of activations, and then I shifted over to Burrell Communications, the oldest and largest multicultural Black-owned agency at the time. And my experience there felt like Old Home Week. It was good to be seen and validated and work with a lot of people who look like me. Prior to that, I was oftentimes the only one in the room. There was a couple of times at the marketing arm where there was more than just me as a Black woman in advertising, but through the course of my journey, I was often the only. At Burrell, it felt good, it felt warm, it felt fuzzy. I was able to really do passion projects and impactful work. Burrell, I was leading the social marketing for Toyota. And I did that for 3 years where I met some dope people, one of who I interviewed for this podcast, Malia. And those activations were so fun. We did everything from Broccoli City to A3C Fest, a lot of music and a lot of sports. That opportunity also took me to the stage of the Soul Train Awards, which was very fun, and the NAACP Image Awards. Looking back, those were times where I really felt the most fulfilled in my work, and I knew that the work that we were doing in partnership with Toyota really was moving the needle and impacting communities of color. The other thing that I really enjoyed about that role that was super fun was contracting creators. So it was in that moment or that opportunity that I partnered with Kawan and London Burton in Dallas, known for their outstanding photography. And we contracted them for our Toyota campaign. So they were the people to change the face of social media on the thread for Instagram for Toyota. All of the multicultural posts that featured Black people doing diverse things like horseback riding, jumping out of an airplane, skiing, playing tennis, things that you typically don't see in ads centering us. I got to pioneer that work with my team. Shout out to Patriot and Greg on my team for that. And then I shifted over to an agency called Digitas, which would be my final opportunity in advertising. At Digitas, I was leading the Bank of America account. This is when I was really getting into my account management bag. Previous to this, I was really doing social, doing strategy, kind of straddling that line, creating insights and tapping into multicultural. But at Digitas, I really got to lead, be the face of the account for the client, and learn a lot. My most proud moment, though, at Digitas was raising my hand to lead the BRG there, which is the Black business resource group called Onyx. And I raised my hand for that because I know the importance of community, which is ultimately what got me here today to start her agency. In leading Digitas, I made a lot of connections, curated a lot of safe spaces, and built an amazing community of all of the Black talent across the agency. So much so that it, filtered out into other Publicis agencies, including Razorfish, a couple of other agencies in New York. And it really just felt like at that moment I was making change. And not necessarily change with the work that I was doing for clients, but change within the industry, validating the experiences of people that I was talking to, creating spaces where we can have honest conversations about negotiating a raise or the disappointment in getting passed up for a promotion or struggling with the decision to take leave to just get our mental health in order based on what was going on in the country. That was where I learned that you need to meet people where they are. Community is important, empathy is important, and a lot of the things that I talk about on season 1 of her agency. I had an aha moment, and it's funny. This is a turning point where when you get what you ask for when you put things out in the universe. So I had told my husband, I said, you know what? I'm going to retire from advertising. I want to be done trying to convince clients to do the right thing by the consumers. Trying to get products in people's hands that they don't necessarily want. There's been a shift in the consumer marketplace of people really locking in on products that they need more so than they want, with recessions and the political climate and just people just not making as much as they should be making. And so I said that, I put that out there, but I wasn't specific in the way in which I said I wanted to retire. Fast forward to 2024, where I had just put a stake in the ground to say that I was going to Cannes. I was still building Onyx. I was still leading the work for Bank of America, but I was hit with a layoff. I was met with a layoff. So I ended my career in June at Digitas, and that was a tough moment for me because I had never been laid off. Typically, I had one role where I just quit on the spot. That's another story for another day. But this one was a big one because I didn't see it coming. I felt, in my tenure there, I was very impactful with building relationships, both with senior leadership, with my peers, with my clients. But there came a point where it just wasn't a good fit. And I also was a remote girly. And we know that they're rolling back all of the remote working. People are needing to come back into the office. So, ultimately I was probably last in, first out, I think is how it goes. So here we are, met with a fork in the road of making a decision. Do I want to get back in the game, maybe go brand side, or do I want to start and do something for myself? And for myself turned into for the collective. I knew that I could still create impact. And so what I say I do now is I still impact the advertising agency. I'm just adjacent to advertising, meaning I pour into Black women who are interested in getting into advertising, who are currently in advertising, and maybe not know the direction to take, not have a mentor, not have community, not have direction. And I want to shift the opportunity for Black women in advertising from going from surviving to thriving. And not just being in the room, but being in the room with the voice and able to make a decision. A little bit more about me and my background and why I really love what I do now, and I feel it's very purposeful and purpose-driven, is during this tenure and all of the things that I just said, I was also the inaugural comms director for ColorComm. You may have heard of that. It's a network of women. It's an organization for women of color in communications. And when that launched in Dallas, I forget the year, I raised my hand to sign up to be the comms director. And I worked with some amazing, amazing women there. And we built a community again. Ultimately, we didn't necessarily have the support that we needed to maintain it in Dallas, so it dissolved. But I still have a lot of those connections in community that was built there. Another thing that I did as far as the agency life is concerned, in an organization, is I was a 3-term DEI chair for AAF Dallas, the American Advertising Federation. And in that role, I learned a lot about really what it takes to curate events, community spaces. But also what I learned is if you have leadership that wants to do the right thing, but doesn't necessarily have the strategy to do the right thing, it won't get done and you won't really have the impact that you intended to make. And so I was the girl that I knew I needed community. I had signed and raised my hand to be a part of all these organizations, but the community just for whatever reason kept falling flat. When fast forward to leading Onyx and hearing all the stories of systemic bad behavior on behalf of colleagues, peers, clients, I knew that there needed to be an opportunity for people to really have a safe space, have connection, have community, and learn from each other. So that is my background and my story and how we got to Her Agency. More about me on a personal side and why I'm so committed to doing this work. I'm the oldest daughter of 2. I might be considered a alpha female. I don't know. Someone's called me that recently. Shout out to Jess, my producer. I am a teacher at heart. I love to meet people where they are and help them develop and pull out the best in them. But my biggest thing and what I'm very, very hell-bent on is energy. Energy for me is everything. And if I meet someone that doesn't have the right energy, I can tell instantly, and I just don't continue to allow myself to be in that space. Energy is something that's a language, and that's really the main language that I speak. I speak the language of energy. So what I mean by that is when you meet people and you can tell they're having a bad day, I still create a space of openness and opportunity and empathy to kind of see what it is, because we all have bad days, we all have bad moments. But if you're just intrinsically a negative person and someone who just doesn't tap into the opportunity to see the lighter side, not a toxic positivity, but just the opportunity to be aware and vulnerable and considerate of other people's feelings, it's just not a good fit. And in the advertising world, working with clients and problematic peers, agency life's not for everyone. Now, like I said, I did my time. I did my 17 years. And I'm very proud of the awards that I won, the Telly Awards that I've won, the work that I did pro bono with the For Jason campaign at Burrell, highlighting the impact of COVID-19 on Black people in America. So there was a lot of fulfilling work that I've done. However, I know that my service can be best utilized by creating space and opportunity for those who, again, know that it's necessary for us to be in the room. And the end game with Her Agency, the podcast, and Her Agency, the collective, is to give you the tools, the knowledge, the safe space, the courage to pick up the pen, be bold, write the brief, take up space, say the thing, and own your agency. And so all of those experiences in my journey is what brought me to create Her Agency, which is starting off as a podcast and a collective to lock in and lock arms and learn, eventually events, and who knows what's next. But I really feel like fulfilling my purpose of providing this space comes from a place of angst and rejection and marginalization and opportunities where I just didn't have somebody to go to ask the question, somebody to go to have the discussion, somebody to go to do the temperature check and the vibe check to understand, is it me? Is it my environment? Is it them? How should I move? There's so many times that we're, told to find and seek support, but sometimes it's just not available. Sometimes it's just not around. And other times we don't know how to go about doing that thing. There's so many stories that I could tell about working in advertising, not just being the only one, but then reaching out for the support and being met with somebody who didn't have the capacity or the interest to do it, or just flustering and maybe making bad or unnecessary decisions just because I didn't have the opportunity to go to a safe space. So if you're in the position of being at a crossroads, going through a transition, trying to figure out if your next move is really going to be your best move, if you've been the girl in the room that wanted to say the thing but didn't feel like you'd be supported on the back end, if you're the girl at happy hour and you look around and you see you are the only woman of color, the only Black girl in the room, if you go to the conference and you hear the inspiration and you know you need the community, but your organization or your agency doesn't have the business resource group or the employee resource group to support you in your growth, I've been that girl through all of those moments. And that's what this platform and collective is for. So I invite you to pull up, your girlfriends to pull up, and let's take charge of our agency together. Thank you. Are you a Black girl in advertising? If so, we've created the most amazing space just for you. If you are ready to thrive and not just survive in this male-dominated space, if you want to lock arms, build community and culture with others that look like you, join Her Agency, the Collective, a place where we're having real conversations, doing the work, building our brands, taking up space, and owning our agency. See you there.